I'd always dreamed of a backyard oasis, a place to unwind after years of grinding as a landscape architect. At 38, Nathan Brooks, finally made it happen. After a decade of designing gardens for wealthy clients while living in a cramped apartment, I saved enough to buy a modest house in Willow Creek and transform its backyard into my masterpiece: a koi pond, stone paths, and a pergola draped with wisteria. It cost me $30,000 and countless weekends, but every time I sat by that pond, watching the fish glide under the lilies, I felt like I'd earned it. I thought my neighbors would appreciate the beauty. Instead, it turned my quiet street into a war zone. The trouble started with Gavin Reed, a 30-year-old who lived across the street with his aunt, Marjorie, the head of our neighborhood association. Gavin was always around, jobless, with a habit of staring too long at anything: nice new cars, fancy grills, my pond. At first, I thought he was just curious, but his gaze had an edge, like he was tallying what he didn't have. I'm no stranger to envy. Job taught me how it festers, but I didn't expect it to come for me. The day I finished the pergola, Gavin was there, leaning against his fence, watching me plant the last flowers. I waved, trying to be friendly, but he just nodded, his eyes locked on the pond. Over the next week, his behavior got stranger. He'd stand on his porch at dawn, snapping photos of my yard with his phone. When I left for work, he'd be there, noting my schedule like a hawk. I started feeling like my backyard wasn't mine. Anna Marie, it was his obsession. One night, I overheard something that made my stomach drop. I was watering my plants when voices carried from Gavin's open window. "Why does he get that fancy yard, Aunt Marjorie? It's not fair. I want something like that." His voice was whiny, almost childlike. Marjorie's reply was calm but sharp. "Don't worry, Gavin. Some people need to learn what's appropriate for a neighborhood like ours. We'll handle it." It wasn't comfort, it was a plan. My years designing for paranoid clients had honed my instincts, and this screamed trouble. The next morning, a green envelope was taped to my mailbox: a neighborhood association notice fining me $400 for excessive landscaping that disrupted community cohesion. It claimed my pond was a mosquito hazard and the pergola obstructed sight lines. I'd never heard of these rules in my 3 years here. The notice demanded I remove the pond and pergola within 10 days or face further action. It was signed by Marjorie, dated that very day. Too convenient after Gavin's tantrum. I emailed the association, asking for the specific rule I'd violated and proof it was voted on. Marjorie's reply was swift and icy. Section 9C prohibits landscaping that negatively impacts community standards. Comply immediately to avoid escalation. The attached guidelines were vague, a catch-all for whatever she wanted to enforce. That day, 3 more emails arrived: a deadline reminder, a warning of legal measures, and a notice of a compliance hearing. Neighbors started acting odd. Mr. Hayes, who'd always chatted about plants, avoided me. The mail carrier rushed past. It felt like Marjorie was poisoning the well, making me the neighborhood pariah. I wasn't imagining it. At the grocery store, Mrs. Delaney whispered that Marjorie had called my yard gaudy at a book club meeting, saying it lowered property values. The pressure was suffocating. I'd lie awake, wondering if I'd been too extravagant, if I should have kept my yard plain. But Gavin's entitled whining and Marjorie's calculated threats fueled my resolve. They weren't just jealous, they were trying to steal my dream. The association meeting was a spectacle. The community room was packed, everyone drawn by the drama. Marjorie had a slideshow ready, maintaining neighborhood standards, with photos of my pond and pergola like crime scene evidence. She claimed they were environmental hazards and proposed a new rule: any landscaping over $10,000 needed association approval, plus a $500 monthly maintenance fee. It was a blatant power grab to punish me. I stood up, heart racing. When did we start policing people's dreams? I built this with my own money, on my own property. This isn't about standards, it's personal. The room hushed, eyes darting between me and Marjorie. Then Mrs. Delaney, a feisty 70-year-old, spoke up. "Marjorie, didn't you do this to the Morgan's gazebo? The Clark's fountain? Every time someone has something nice, you slap a fine on it." Murmurs grew. Neighbors shared stories. The Morgans dismantled their gazebo after endless violations. The Clarks drained their fountain under water waste claims. Marjorie's pattern emerged. She targeted anything that outshone her nephew's empty life. The crowd turned, demanding answers. Mrs. Delaney's motion to halt action on my yard passed in a landslide. Marjorie's face twitched as she lost control. I dug deeper, talking to affected neighbors. The real breakthrough came from Emily, the association's secretary. Over coffee, she handed me a folder of evidence. Gavin's been pushing Marjorie to target people for years, she said. Every Monday, he'd drop off community notes, lists of things he coveted, like my pond, labeled mosquito risk. Emily had saved emails where Gavin wrote, "Nathan's yard makes us look bad. Make him tear it down." Marjorie replied, "I'll handle it, dear. They need to learn their place." It was a chilling campaign to erase anything Gavin envied, using the association as a weapon. 2 nights later, Gavin showed up at my door, agitated. "This is your fault, Nathan. Aunt Marjorie's in trouble because of you. Just tear down that stupid pond for $5,000, and we're done." I was ready. "I know about your list, Gavin. The Morgan's gazebo, the Clark's fountain, my pond. You're using your aunt to bully people into giving up what you want." His eyes widened, panic setting in. "You don't get it," he shouted. "You don't deserve that yard. It should be mine." I'd left my door open, knowing Mrs. Delaney walked by nightly. She appeared with neighbors, phones recording Gavin's meltdown. "It's not fair," he screamed. "I deserve nice things too." The neighbors called an emergency meeting. Marjorie arrived, cornered by angry residents armed with Emily's evidence. She tried to blame Gavin, but the emails and recordings were undeniable. The board ousted her, reversed all recent fines, and set new rules to prevent abuse. Gavin, humiliated, apologized to every targeted family, sobbing as he admitted his jealousy. "I just wanted to feel successful," he cried. I looked at him, a grown man broken by his own entitlement. "Gavin, success is earned, not stolen." 6 months later, my pond sparkles, and I love it more than ever. Gavin's working at a nursery, showing a knack for plants when he's not scheming. Marjorie moved away, and our association now focuses on community, not control. The Morgans rebuilt their gazebo. The Clark's fountain flows again. Envy thrives in the dark, but truth is a spotlight. Ever had someone try to take what you worked for? That's a fight worth having.